Hello, I'm Bill Dawson, horticulturalist, and I'm here at Oakland Nursery. I'm in the water garden area. This is summer. We're in the summer months, and I love water in the garden. Just hearing it, it's soothing, it's cooling, and you can have a little fountain, or you can have a full-size pond, and they have several demonstration ponds here, actually, that are built and planted all around, so you can get to know your water plants. But I'm here with Shawn Schilling, who knows all the water plants and has a really good selection here now, and they're always coming in. And so, Shawn, tell me a little bit about some of the plants that are most common that you're going to find in your water gardens.
Sure. So what we're going to have is typically there's going to be a couple different categories. We're going to look at marginals, which would typically be things like your iris. You'll have some creeping jenny, some of those different options. We'll also have, rush and other things kind of planted in the pond as well. But those would all be things that we call marginals. Those you can
on the edge.
Correct. You plant those on the edge of the pond. Typically on a container here, you would want the soil to be planted on the edge, but the plant to be above ground.
Okay.
So that'd be typically the first variety of things. Then beyond that, you get into submergibles. Things that you can, sink to the bottom. Water lilies, water lotus. You got, a few different things like hornwort and whatnot that you can actually submerge in the pond.
Is that like anywhere from 18 inches to 3 feet, or in that range?
Yep.
Or?
So in those actually. Typically with these guys, you can at least get that. So a lot of times we'll recommend when you're setting them in to use some cinder blocks to kind of lower those down and give the plants an opportunity to kind of stretch and grow towards the surface.
Gotcha.
But yes, you should be able to get down 3 feet easily with.
So you completely submerge the plant.
Correct.
It's going to go up to the top.
Correct.
Your water lilies are going to lay there, and then they'll bloom.
Yep. And these guys will they'll flower for you. You're going to have all sorts of different colors, different options as far as bloom varieties, different size lily pads, but all of these guys are going to give you a nice shade for the water. Those are going to leave those lily pads so that way.
There's a place for the fish to hide too.
Correct.
We'll talk about that. And these are hardy.
Yes, these are all hardy. They're going to come back from year to year, so you plant them once and then you enjoy them from year to year.
That's awesome.
So then after that, you get into more of the floaters. With floaters, you get into things that you can just set on the surface of the water. They're just going to float around. They're going to be water lettuce and water hyacinth. And these guys will actually spread and grow. On this one here, you can actually see it's got a little baby, so to speak, that will come off. And then they will kind of sprout into more plants.
Gotcha.
So typically by the end of the season, you'll end up with more than you really always want on these. So they will kind of grow and they do really well. Now those aren't annual. Those do not come back from year to year, so you would want to replace those from each year.
Fairly inexpensive. And
very
inexpensive. I hear people, are pond buddies.
Yep.
And they trade plants all the time.
Oh, most
because
definitely.
They multiply. Yep. And so that's a great thing to do as well. So I did have the question. My sister right now is having trouble. She has a pond, and she has koi, and she has goldfish.
Gotcha.
And she has a heron, I believe.
Uh-oh.
That she thinks is coming in.
Those are not a good combination.
And getting those fish, and she hates to see it fly away with a heron in it, or with a koi in its mouth, an expensive koi. What are some of the things you can do? I know they'll hide under some of the plants, but what else?
Yeah, so one of the best things you can do is build your pond with places for fish to hide. That's the best thing. Anything when you get more than maybe 3 feet deep or plus, sometimes the fish can get deep enough to where they can hide from some of those predators. A lot of raccoons, actually, people aren't aware of, will typically try to grab fish. So if you have something deep enough for them to hide in, they won't worry about that. But herons specifically, you can avoid problems with that by having places for them to hide. Actually, in our pond, we actually use a 18-inch culvert pipe we lay across the bottom, and that allows the fish to go in, hide, so that way anytime they sense a predator, they'll go in there. We may not see them for a day or two. They'll come back out a couple days later, and predators are gone.
And you've got your fish. Yeah, because they can clean out a pond pretty quick.
Oh yeah, typically, of course, in a couple hours, you go home from work and your pond will be empty.
I'd love to see the herons, but not eating all my expensive koi. So that's such a great tip, is having that culvert, that pipe for them to hide. I know they hide under the plant sometimes, but yeah, if they're exposed, they're at risk.
Yeah. So, well, normally just, like you say, you can get a piece of culvert pipe, or 4 or 6 inch PVC pipe, lay it in the bottom, put a couple rocks around it. You can kind of tuck it in nicely. You would never even see it. Once you get algae and whatnot starts growing over it, you'll never even know it's there, but does give a fish, and even baby fish, if you're reproducing, good place to hide from any predators.
So I've got a small pond in the backyard, you know, even smaller than this, 18 inches deep. How do I winterize it? What should I do, or should I do anything to winterize it?
Yeah, so depending on whether you have fish or not, that's one of the important factors.
Sure.
If you have fish, you always want to either do one of two things. You want to let those gases escape. So you can either do that by keeping a pond heater in the pond to keep the ice from freezing up. So a lot of people think that, you know, fish can't tolerate the cold temperatures. So it's not so much the cold temperatures as it is those toxic gases that get trapped under that layer of ice. So once you get a heater in there, that will basically allow all those gases to escape, and then your fish are perfectly fine for the winter. Another thing I've seen people do is just keep the water moving. Anytime you have water moving, your pond won't freeze up, it won't ice. So you don't have to worry about that. Now, the only thing I do caution people about is, hey, if you have a power outage in the middle of winter, you lose power, and then, you know, next thing you know, your pond is frozen over, and now your pipes are all frozen, and
go out and break it up.
Exactly. So that gets to be a little tricky. So I do recommend heaters. That way you can kind of break that, keep that ice melted at the top. But aside from that, just winterization. If you have any sort of, if you're not using the pumps running, you just want to make sure you get all the water out of those lines so they don't freeze. But just keeping a hole in the ice so the fish, essentially, so that those toxic gases can escape, fish will be fine for years to come.
Those ponds are just so soothing. I love water. I love having it near, and soothing, and the sound and the motion is all great. You have so many fountains here, so many different types of pond options, from, you know, big containers to put a pond in. You and the other 3 Oakland nurseries all carry the water gardening plants and equipment. So stop out at any one of the 4. You stop here, see Shawn, because he's really great at it, and he'll answer all your water gardening questions. And so I'm Bill Dawson, horticulturalist at Oakland Nursery. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy, guys.